So if you're trying to make sense of AI for your business, you're in the right place. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Unlocking AI Value series. Our topic for today is the project to product shift, a really important thing that we've been talking about for a long time in the Agile world. There's books written on it, but it's just becoming more and more apparent that this is a good thing. So, Jay, what do you have for us?
This has always been an interesting topic and conversation with leaders and organizations. So first of all, there's a lot of question is, what is a product, right? And there's a lot of literature out there and experience where they've defined internal products versus external products. And then they've said, okay, this is a product, and this is a platform. A platform is a special kind of product, reusable code and so forth, where you can create things, right? So they've kind of created this taxonomy, if you will, of what a product is, right? The hard part I'm finding in most organizations that, the theory or the taxonomy is kind of easy to comprehend and understand. What's hard is how do I mobilize and organize my workforce, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? But you want to do it the most simple way so that you can leverage what's happening today is they're developing what we call an interconnected company, okay? Which means that with agentic AI and everything, now we can build solutions that cross functionality in a company, sales, marketing, finance, etc., and cross products, right? So now you have to be very understanding about accountability, right? So who's going to own these products, right? After you define it and organize it. I think the other thing, I I think there's a misnomer out there in the world that, oh, if we move from project to product, we'll never have projects again. That's not necessarily so. A lot of companies have projects within a product, and that's just the way they try to do project management. Well, we still do project management best practices. You still have to have risks and issues and manage that sort of thing. In the product world, we have other specializations that we do, and the product managers now are using AI to do their work, to learn as well as we call that product discovery, and then to deliver to create value, right? And now they're using AI to create PRDs, product requirement documents, for example, to create OKRs and so forth, to measure them, to instrument them, and et cetera, right? So I think there's a lot to unpack to move from project to product, and I don't think there's one single way of doing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to your point, it's not that, once you make that shift, that you're never going to do something called a project again. There might be things under there. There might be temporary needs we have,
Right.
right? There might be things that are in the simple domain that are just
Mhm.
repeatable kind of things that
Right.
waterfall might make sense, right? We've said that
Right.
all along, right? Don't use Agile for everything, right?
Right.
Lean and Agile are not for every situation, but use it
Right.
for the situations that make sense, right?
Right.
So projects may still exist, but the idea is that we want to shift towards persistent value streams, persistent products where we can
Mhm.
organize the majority of our people around those things because
Right.
that's the way we drive revenue and value for the
Right.
organization. And so that we're really, persistently organized around that rather than all the starts and stops of projects in something that should just be a continuous flow of value, right? And
Correct.
so that's where we've seen so many challenges.
Mhm.
And I guess, on that note, you mentioned, misnomers and misunderstandings out there. I realized that sometimes when we talk about this project to product, there's some confusion about what we mean by product, especially
Right.
when you're in IT. Sometimes when we hear that, people think, oh, we've got products in IT. We manage Microsoft,
Right.
365, and
Right.
we've got SAP or these other, software products that we're using.
Right.
That's not what we mean by products,
No.
right? What we're talking about is the value stream of work for the benefits of the business, which could be an external facing, customer facing product,
Right.
or it could be something internal that we're building in. It's a grouping of those things that serves value to HR or marketing or
Right.
finance that gives them some value. So those are the products. Like think about the value stream, not just an individual piece of software or a platform. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about a persistent value stream that we would call a product. Right?
Correct. And that's for some people, it's a difficult transition because we've organized our companies for decades around systems, right? And around functional units, right? And now we're saying, well, wait a minute, that may not be the best way to organize. We got to look at this product thing out. Those out there that are familiar with ITIL and ITSM, ITIL version 4, version 5 is coming out. It's all products and services and platforms. They've changed, right? I think one of my favorite people to follow is Marty Kagan and Software Valley Product Group. I worked in Silicon Valley for a long time, and this Silicon Valley Product Group, sorry. And this is this notion that what a product is and how we organize around products. I think that group does a really good job of explaining that and how to do it, right? And most companies in Silicon Valley, they grew up with this product mindset and they organize around that. But you have companies out here that have been around for 100 years or something, right? They haven't grown up with that mindset, right? So they have to then understand what this means and how to change and so forth. So it's not an easy task for some companies to move to this model, but I think with AI now coming out, I think it's going to kind of push them or nudge them into doing that because I think then they'll be able to implement AI faster and better and cheaper.
So much nicer than me, Jay. Push or nudge. I was thinking it's going to drag them by the hair, but but yeah. So I think you're right. It's if you haven't started down this path, you really should think about it, like and think about what it looks like for you. And so this is something that we do quite a bit, having a workshop around this to help the business overall think through what kind of products should we have, how should we organize ourselves. And so it's not just defining that, but then it's reorganizing the company around that. That's the really important part, and that's what oftentimes people when they are new to this, they don't think about the next steps after that. They say, oh, let's define our products. Great, we did it. Well, yeah, that's just step zero. Now you define them. Now you got to actually implement that in terms of organizational structure and policies. And do people need to report to different places because of how we've reorganized ourselves? And so
Right.
there's a lot that goes into that and making that work. And so there's change management. There's a lot of the implementation. There's some HR things that need to go into place about maybe releveling or understanding how reporting structures might change. But there's a ton of stuff that this impacts. It's not a to your point, it's not a simple thing to work through how those products should take shape, but it's even harder to figure out how to actually implement it. And that's why you've got companies like us that have been doing this for years to help think through how should we organize ourselves, collaborating with companies and their leaders to really think that through, and then figure out what's the roadmap to actually implement it. Because you don't
Right.
just do it all at once and tear the band-aid off. You got to figure out how to keep the business running today while you're building it for the future, and how do you make that change, and sort of when do you flip the switch on certain things. So there's a lot of complexity in there, and that's the fun part, but also the risky and dangerous part to make sure that once you figure out how you want to organize, how do you actually pull that off, right?
Right. And you don't have to, if you're, mid-sized company and you have a lot of people, right? You don't have to change everything overnight, right? Start where it makes sense and make the change there, learn, and then scale it and apply it everywhere, right? Where it makes sense, right? And I think there's a lot of data out there now from firms like Gartner and Deloitte and IBM and so forth that indicate that if you take the time to do this and really do it, you're going to see significant results, right? And impact, right? Positive ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth thinking about.
And I think that one of the biggest benefits in terms of business value, it really gets everyone aligned to what are the important things that we should be doing in terms of
Mhm.
priorities for the business, either external to your customers and delivering product to them,
Mhm.
or even internally, how do we
Mhm.
support our functional areas
Yeah,
better and really get focused so that we're not just, or again, organizing by systems that everyone's got their
right.
priority in their system, but you pull all this together into a stream of value and say, what's the most important thing for all of those groups together to deliver value to this either external customer, internal customer, really helps get clear on priorities and allows you to go from what most companies have is just like this enormous list of like 100 or 200 things going on at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
You can really take that list and whittle it down to, okay, what are the things that are actually important? And the most important part of that then is saying no to a lot of
Right,
that stuff that's on the list and just
right,
saying there's 200 things on this list. We are never going to get to 175 of those. So let's just take
right,
them off the list and say no.
right. Well, that's key. I mean, if you organize this way, it's going to be. easier for you as an executive or leader to identify and define your goals and targets, right? And your value. And now you're going to give agency to the product leaders, right? The product manager and the teams, the team of teams to implement. And they can also figure out the value that they can create and so forth and present that to the executives and get investment, right? So it's really important that we kind of look at this model and this mindset, if you will, for an organization to fully leverage and capture the probability of AI delivering the success that you want. So you can also ask Gen AI that there's agents out there where you can ask that. You can put all this information in there about your current state in your organization, and you can ask it, well, give me, some samples based on this. What are my products? What
Yeah.
type of products do you think I have? Everything. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the most, you have
It
to
might get you
use your
thinking differently
brain.
and like
Yeah.
thinking outside the box a little bit, right?
Right.
So yeah, yeah, that's good. Well, and to your point, it ties back to our previous episode about teams of teams. You organize, products, then you get teams of teams working on those products,
Mhm.
and that leads into our next episode. Just to give a preview, which is, we talked about teams last time. We talked about products this time. Now we're talking about the culture of value in our next episode, bringing those two things together: teams delivering on the product, and that produces value. So next episode is talking about culture of value. So look forward to that. So with that, I'm Aaron,
I'm Jake.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Hi, thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And drop a comment with topics or questions you'd like us to cover. Thank you. See you later.